What's up, guys? We're back with a full slate of MLB action here on Friday, May 31st. Thursday went pretty okay, guys. We went 4-2 overall. That will definitely work. We'll definitely take that. The Brewers minus 104 came through for us. The Kansas City, Minnesota over-under. We had the under in that one. There was a weird pitching change, so that ended up going over. We didn't get any information out there to change that one up in time, so that was unfortunate. Didn't get that one. We'll put that one on the board as a loss. We did also take the loss with Seattle minus 134. They got shut out by the Astros somehow. That was a very weird one, but we swept the rest of our games, guys. We hit the under in that weird Washington-Atlanta game where there's a pitching change in that one. We changed it down in the pinned comment. We put the Nationals plus 165. That one came through for us, so definitely put a big underdog win on the board for us in that one. And we also hit the Yankees minus 1.5. Got that one at minus 110, so some very solid value there on the Yankees in the late game. So overall, looking at basically a 4-2 day, or at least a 3-2 day, however you slice it, a winning day. So we'll definitely take that. Go ahead and put that winning day on the board. Do me a big favor, guys, and hit that like button. It's a great way to show some support for the channel and all the work we put in here every single day. If you're new, go ahead and subscribe. It's 100% free and can keep you from missing out on these picks. Our videos are sponsored by StumpTheSpread.com. Click the link in the description and go over there and join our free email list and check out our top confidence plays in all the major sports. Comment below with all the bets you're looking at today, and we will give you our best advice on all of them. We respond to absolutely every single comment, so let us know anything you want to say about my picks, these videos, or anything you see here. As always, our final picks will be in the pinned comment down below. Now let's get into our first game of the day, the Cincinnati Reds taking on the Chicago Cubs. The Cincinnati Reds come into this game fresh off of back-to-back losses to the Cardinals. They had a little 4-game winning streak there where they swept the Dodgers, won one game against the Cardinals, then they lost 2 in a row, getting outscored 7-1 and 5-3 over the last 2 games of that series. They're 24-32 on the season, handing the ball in this game to Graham Ashcraft, who's 4-3 on the year with a 4.67 ERA, and he's coming off one of his worst starts of the season. It was a game that we saw the Reds get the win, but they won 9-6 in that one, and it was really no thanks there to Ashcraft, guys. He went 5 1/3 innings, gave up 8 hits, 5 earned runs. It was against the Dodgers, so we'll cut him a little bit of slack, but in general, the Reds have not been having a lot of success with him out there on the mound. They're only 1-4 over his last 5 starts. Couple starts there against the Diamondbacks, a start against the San Diego Padres, so he's been facing some pretty tough offensive teams. Not really having the easiest time of it. He's put up reasonable, not dominant, but reasonable numbers, and given facing those opponents, it's not terrible. What has been terrible this season has been the Reds' offense. They've looked very, very bad. They're kind of coming alive maybe a little bit during that winning streak, but they've went right back down the tubes, guys. I mean, only 4 runs over the last 2 games against the Cardinals. Not exactly an elite opponent. They're tied for 20th in the majors in runs scored, but man, they are 29th in the majors, batting only .216 as a team. We see Elly De La Cruz leading the way for them, batting only .249 with 9 home runs. Like, nobody on this offense, nobody coming up to the plate for the Reds really scares me too much. And they're going to need to score some runs here against the Cubs, who come into this game looking to bounce back after winning only 1 out of 4 against the Milwaukee Brewers, who lost the last game of that series 6-4. Thank you, Brewers, for getting the win in that one. The Cubs are handing the ball to Javier Assad in this game. He's 4-1 on the season with a 2.17 ERA, coming off of a pretty mediocre start there against the Cardinals, guys. I mean, he's been very good this season. He had back-to-back very good starts against the Atlanta Braves, but then followed it up with not a great start back on the 26th against St. Louis. He went 5 innings, gave up 4 earned runs on 5 hits, gave up 2 home runs in that game. He did strike out 8, but he also walked 3, so we're not exactly going to throw him a parade for that, and we're also not going to throw a parade for the Cubs hitters. I mean, over their series against Milwaukee, they scored 4, 6, 6, and 1 run. I mean, not terrible, but against a team like Milwaukee that gives up some runs, I mean, it's not exactly something amazing. This team is looking strictly average in terms of runs scored, but their team batting average is down to 26 in the majors. They're not a good power team. Their slugging percentage is only .364. Like, this, once again, guys, not an offense that I'm very scared of. Don't expect them to put up a ton of runs in this game. We do see Cody Bellinger leading the way with a .267 batting average. That's not exactly something that we're going to be super thrilled about. So looking at the numbers for this game, we see the Cubs at minus 145, the Reds at plus 130. We've got an over-under in this game of 8. We're also looking at the fact that Chicago is 15-11 at home, and the Reds are only 10-15 on the road. I think that's the main reason the Cubs are such big favorites. That and Assad being out on the mound, obviously. In general, in this game, guys, I am looking at the Cubs minus 145. I also think under 8 might have some value, but I don't think either one of those plays are going to be making it into the pinned comment. Next on the docket, guys, we got the St. Louis Cardinals going on the road to take on the Philadelphia Phillies. The Cardinals come into this game playing pretty well. They've actually won 4 of their last 5 overall. They're up to 27-27 on the season. 500 wasn't necessarily something I saw this team getting back to during, like the dark days of this, very bad start to the season, but they've come alive. They're looking pretty good now. They're handing the ball in this game to Miles Michaelis, who's 3-5 on the season with a 5.64 ERA. He's one of those guys that got off to a terrible start and has kind of righted the ship. I mean, his last time out, he went 6 innings, gave 3 earned runs, on 4 hits while striking out 6 to the Chicago Cubs, so not necessarily in a dominant performance. I mean, it is against the Cubs, who are not a very good offensive team right now, but we'll cut him a little bit of slack. We do see that the Cardinals are 3-2 over his last 5 starts, which is a big step in the right direction, but we're not forgetting this is a guy that back on the 7th of this month got shelled by the New York Mets. So Michaelis, not looking at him as an ace right now, and while the Cardinals offense is trending in a positive direction, they're also not one of the best offensive squads in the majors, guys. I mean, over their last 5 games, which they've won 4 of those games, they've scored 5, 7, 1, 4, and 7. Like, not terrible, but I'm not really going to freak out about that. They are up to 26th in the majors in runs scored, 17th in batting average, batting .237 as a squad. We're seeing Arenado and Goldschmidt get back on track a little bit here, but still have some question marks about this offense. How are they going to fare here against the Phillies, one of the best offenses in the majors? The Phillies coming to this game fresh off of a win there against the Giants. They had to win that last game of the series to salvage a 3-1 series, or a 1-2 series, but in general, this has been one of the best teams in the majors. They're handing the ball in this game to Aaron Nola, who's 6-2 on the year with a 3.04 ERA. He's coming off of a good start there against the Colorado Rockies. Didn't seem like he was really pouring it on in that one. I mean, he went 6 innings, gave up 5 hits and 2 earned runs while striking out 5. Did not give up a home run in that game. Start before that, he gave up 2 home runs, but looked very good against the Nationals, going 7 innings, giving up only 2 earned runs, and before that, he threw a complete game shutout against the New York Mets. So he's throwing the ball very, very well right now, and the Phillies offense seems like they're coming back around after a little bit of a rough stretch there. I mean, breaking out for 6 runs. We saw Schwarber hit a home run, and in general, this has been one of the best offense in the majors. I mean, they're first in runs scored, second in team batting average, batting nearly .260 as a squad. Their on base percentage is second in the majors. Like, this is a great slugging percentage team. They're 4th in the majors in slugging percentage. We see Bryce Harper playing great. Like, this is a fantastic hitting team, guys. No way around this. One of the best offenses in the majors, and when you see the numbers for this game, it kind of makes sense. We see the Cardinals at plus 160, the Phillies at minus 180. We also see an over-under in this game of 8.5. Guys, we're definitely pretty high on the Phillies in this spot. I don't have any faith at all, really, in Michaelis. The question for me is, do you just take the Phillies on the money line, or do you go ahead and take them minus 1.5? If you take the Phillies minus 1.5 in this game, you can get them at something around plus 120, which is very, very appealing. Guys, go ahead and give me the Phillies minus 1.5 in this game. I think they're going to knock Michaelis around quite a bit. I expect Aaron Nola to have a good outing here against the Cardinals. I think the Phillies win this one comfortably at home, where they are 22-8 on the season. Next on the docket, guys, we're looking at the Tampa Bay Rays going on the road to take on the Baltimore Orioles. The Rays come into this game 28-29 in the season, fresh off of winning 2 out of 3 against the Oakland A's. So got to feel pretty good about that. They're handing the ball to Aaron Savale in this game. He's 2-4 in the year with a 5.72 ERA, and coming off of a decent but not great start against the Kansas City Royals. He really needed a good start in that one, and he kind of came through. I mean, it's a game that his team lost in 11 innings, so he put him in at least a position to have a chance to win. He went 5 innings, gave up 4 hits, 2 earned runs. Not a disaster, but he's had his problems this year for sure, and the Rays in general have definitely had their issues. They're looking a little bit better recently, but only 28-29 in the season. They've got a lot of work to do right now. I mean, a long hill to climb to come back and get into a good position. They're going up against the Baltimore Orioles team that is very, very good. Baltimore comes into this game winners of winners of 2 out of 3 against the Red Sox. They swept the Chicago White Sox before that, so looking very, very good. 35-19 on the year will definitely work. They're handing the ball in this game to Albert Suarez. He's off to a 2-0 start with a 1.53 ERA. He's come out of the bullpen a lot. His last time out was a start against the White Sox, where he went 4 innings, gave only 2 hits while striking out 3 and walking 2. Only 4 innings, so not super deep into the game. I'm sure they want to, get him acclimated to being a starter, and they want to stretch him out gradually. But looking at the Orioles offense, you can definitely count on them putting up some numbers. They've scored 6, 3, 11, 4, 5, and 6 runs over their last few games. Looking very, very good out there. They're 6th in the majors in runs scored. We're definitely looking at Gunnar Henderson, just still killing the ball right now. He's up to 18 home runs on the season. He's still batting nearly .260, so that's very solid. This is one of the best slugging percentage teams in the majors. Their on-base percentage numbers could use a little bit of work, but when you're hitting home runs like they do, maybe you don't really care about that. Looking at the numbers for this game, guys, we see the Rays at plus 125, the Orioles at minus 142. We've got an over-under in this game of 8.5. Tampa Bay is only 11-11 on the road, and Baltimore is 19-11 at home. That's very solid. We definitely have some questions about Savale in this game. I mean, he hasn't had the best time lately, and he hasn't been going up against elite opponents. Also, a major consideration here is he's given up exactly 1 home run in each of his last 5 starts, and the Orioles are a team they're going to tag you up if you give them a chance. So we're going to be on the Orioles in this game, minus 142. I think they're in a very reasonable spot out there. I'm liking what I'm seeing from Suarez, and if you're asking me questions here about the Baltimore bullpen, I mean, we do see they're somewhere around 7th in the majors with a team bullpen ERA of only 3.28, so we're not too worried about that. Give me the Orioles in this game. I think they're in a very good spot. Next on the docket, guys, we're looking at the Pittsburgh Pirates going on the road here to take on the Toronto Blue Jays. We just saw Pittsburgh win 1 out of 2 with 1 game getting postponed there against the Tigers, so they didn't look terrible, didn't look amazing. They're 26-30 on the year, which isn't great. Handing the ball in this game to Bailey Falter probably doesn't feel terrible. He is 3-2 on the season with a 3.55 ERA, and he's coming off of a serviceable start there against the Atlanta Braves. He went 7 1/3 innings. He's actually gone over 7 innings in his last 2 starts, and both of them have been very, very good. I mean, I guess 7 1/3 and 3 earned runs isn't very, very good, but I mean, that's reasonable for sure, especially against an Atlanta Braves team that can hit the ball a little bit, so probably feel good to hand him the ball, and it's definitely got to feel good for them to get in double digits in runs scored their last time out. I mean, this has not been the best offensive team over the course of the season, but they're coming alive a little bit here lately, I guess. I mean, they scored 10 runs in Game 3 of that series, but 0 runs in Game 2, only 1 run in their last game of the series against the Atlanta Braves, so team definitely has some work to do here at the plate, guys. They're 22nd in the majors in runs scored, 26th in slugging percentage. They're only batting .229 as a team, like not a squad that I would necessarily look at as an elite offensive team. And yeah, I mean, the Pittsburgh bullpen is a bit below average with a team ERA of over 4, so that's not great either. They're going to need to do something good here against the Toronto Blue Jays, who are coming off of a 3-game sweep of the Chicago White Sox. Thank you, Blue Jays, for that. We made a little bit of money off of that one. They're only 26-29 in the season, though, handing the ball in this one to Jose Barrios, who's 5-4 on the year with a 2.94 ERA, coming off of a much-needed solid start there against the Tigers, where he went 7 innings. He had only 2 earned runs on 7 hits. He struck out 5 and walked 9. That's the first time he hasn't walked a hitter over his last 5 starts, so they'll definitely take that. And the Blue Jays' bats have come alive just a little bit here. I mean, we're finally seeing Vladimir Guerrero Jr. get on track, and they did score 3, 7, and 5 runs over the course of this series, so they think probably that their offense is starting to come around a little bit, and the odds makers seem to kind of be of the same opinion. We see the Pirates at plus 138, the Blue Jays at minus 164. We've got an over-under in this game of 8.5. Guys, I'm pretty interested in the under in this game. I mean, we see Toronto is 32-23 to the under. That's a solid under number. We see Pittsburgh is only 28-25-3 to the under, but they're also not a great offense. So with neither offense really producing a ton of runs right now and both starting pitchers looking pretty solid, I think the under is a very reasonable play, and it has some outside chance to end up in the pinned comment here. Next on the docket, guys, we got the Arizona Diamondbacks going on the road to take on the New York Mets. The Diamondbacks come into this game fresh off of losing 3-2 in Game 1 of this series, so that can't feel great. It also is probably pretty annoying for them. They're 25-31 on the year after getting off to a pretty hot start. Handing the ball in this game to Jordan Montgomery, he's 3-2 on the season with a 4.69 ERA, and he's coming off a good start against the Miami Marlins. I guess good, we'll say. I mean, he gave up 2 earned runs, but 6 innings and 9 hits allowed to the Marlins. Like, that's not great. I mean, his start before that, he also kind of got knocked around by the Tigers. We do see, though, that the Diamondbacks are 4-1 over his last 5 starts, with that 1 loss coming against the Dodgers. So we'll give him some credit, but also 2 of those games were against Cincinnati Reds. So I don't know, guys. I'm not super high on this guy out there on the mound, and the Diamondbacks offense has not been looking good recently over their last 4 games, all of which are losses, I'll remind you. They scored 2, 1, 2, and 1 runs, respectively. That is absolutely terrible, bottom of the barrel kind of stuff. This team is still somehow 10th in the majors in runs scored, but they're down to 16th in the majors in slugging percentage, and they're getting on base at a 314 clip, and right now, they're not even hitting those numbers. Like, those are all numbers that are declining. So, not super high on the Diamondbacks in this spot, and also not super high on the New York Mets for all the very obvious reasons. The Mets won their last game, but they're still only 23-33 in the season. Handing the ball in this game to Luis Severino. He's 2-2 on the year with a 3.22 ERA, and he's coming off a great start there against the Giants. I mean, he's done everything he can for this team, but over his last 5 starts, most of which have been very, very good, we've only seen the Mets win 1 of those games, and it was a 4-3 win over the Atlanta Braves. Like, Severino's doing all he can, but man, the Mets offense is not great. They're 20th in the majors in runs scored, 21st in on-base percentage. Also, looking at the Mets bullpen, it's not great, guys. They're 21st in the majors in bullpen ERA, so not fantastic there. A lot of question marks about the Mets coming into this game, and I mean, even with Severino out there on the mound, it's kind of a tough look. We see the Diamondbacks at plus 104, the Mets at minus 112, and an over-under of 7.5. The Mets are only 11 and 19 at home. We see the Diamondbacks are 12 and 15 on the road. Guys, I don't have a big lean on this game. I'm not going to be betting it myself. If you're forcing me to, I guess go ahead and give me the Diamondbacks plus 104 because the Mets are so bad at home. And even if Severino has a great start, I think they'll find a way to lose this game. But regardless, not going to be betting this one myself. Next on the docket, guys, we've got the Detroit Tigers going on the road to take on the Boston Red Sox. The Tigers come into this game fresh off of a win in game 1 of the series. They dominated the Red Sox 5-0. So that had to feel pretty good. Flaherty allowed 1 hit over 6 and 2 innings. He looked amazing in that game. We saw the Tigers hit 3 home runs. So they've got to be feeling great. They're 28 and 28 on the season. Handing the ball in this game to Kenta Maeda. He is 2-1 on the year with a 5.80 ERA, but he's coming off a very good start there against the Toronto Blue Jays, where he went 5 innings, he had 4 hits and no runs. He only struck out 1 in that game, but he didn't walk any, and it's a good bounce back performance there after getting shelled by the Cleveland Guardians. We actually have seen the Tigers win 4 out of his last 5 starts, so that has to feel pretty good, but that one start, that game that they won against Cleveland was not necessarily his fault, but all of his other starts have been very reasonable over his last 4, like great start back on the 23rd against Tampa Bay, then a big gap there, then a good start against the St. Louis Cardinals. So in general, Maeda's been looking pretty good, and the Tigers offense has been coming alive a little bit. I mean, 5, 2, 8, 14, 2, and 6 runs over the last few games. Like, that'll definitely work. They're up to 17th in the majors in runs scored, only 19th in batting average, batting .235 as a team, but those are numbers that I think are trending up in a pretty significant way. So I think they feel pretty good about that. They're going to try and keep things rolling here against the Red Sox, who come into this game 28 and 29 on the season. After that loss, they're handing the ball in this game to Tanner Houck, who's 4 and 5 on the year with a 1.90 ERA, and he's coming off of a good start where he was in a lot of trouble but managed to pitch his way out of it against the Milwaukee Brewers. He went 6 innings, gave up 7 hits, only allowed a single earned run though, and he walked 1, struck out 7, so that'll work. He's actually, I guess, 2 good starts in a row, like depending on how you look at it. I mean, obviously his start against Milwaukee was decent. His start against Tampa Bay back on the 20th was elite, though. He went 7 innings, gave only 2 hits, so he's throwing the ball pretty well right now. The Red Sox offense, on the other hand, did not look great in that series against the Orioles, and obviously looked pretty bad here in game 1 of this series. I mean, over their last 5 games, they've scored 0, 1, 8, and 3 runs, and then in their last game against the Brewers, they only scored 2 runs. Not an offense is really firing on all cylinders. All their major numbers are trending down. I mean, they're still 9th in slugging percentage, still 13th in the majors in runs scored, but I don't expect them to hold on to those numbers for much longer, guys. This is not an offense that's hitting the ball well. It doesn't seem like they're seeing the ball well right now, and yeah, in general, just not super high on this offense. And in regards to their bullpen, the Red Sox have had one of the worst bullpens in baseball. They've had a ton of pitching injuries this season, but with a bullpen ERA of 4.33, that puts them 27th in the majors. So not super high on this pitching staff in general. And looking at the numbers for this game, guys, we see that the Tigers are getting a lot of respect. The Tigers are not getting a lot of respect. I mean, they're at plus 134. The Red Sox are minus 145. We've got an over-under in this game of 8.5. I think Maeda is not a terrible starter, guys. I mean, I'm not super low on him. We do see Detroit is 13 and 13 on the road, which isn't amazing necessarily, but Boston is only 11 and 15 at home. We see mixed trends towards the over-under for these two teams, but guys, I'm definitely leaning towards the Tigers plus 134 in this game. I don't have a ton of faith here in Houck. While this won't be a pinned comment play, I think if you're really, really wanting to bet this game, I think the value in it is either on the Tigers plus 134 or maybe just a little bit there on the under 8.5. Next up, guys, we're looking at the Texas Rangers going on the road here to take on the Miami Marlins. The Rangers come into this game playing some of their better ball of the season. I mean, they've only won 3 in a row, but they looked very, very good in those 3 games. It was against the Diamondbacks and then one win there at the end of their series against the Twins, but they're trying. This isn't a team that's had a ton of success this season. They're handing the ball in this game to Jose Urena. He is looking for his first results of the year. He's had 4 consecutive outings that were all starts, so he's been starting some games here. The Rangers are 2-2 over those starts, but he's looked pretty good. His last time out, he got knocked around by the Twins a bit. I mean, he went 5 innings, gave 9 hits, only 3 earned runs, so he managed to get himself out of trouble on occasion. He struck out 6 in that game, but he's looked fairly gettable. He's given up at least 1 home run in each of his last 3 games, but he's had some positive outings too. He's been eating up some innings, so I think that's really all the Rangers can ask out of him right now. And the Rangers offense, man, they've been kind of all over the place this season. They look like one of the best offenses in the majors there for a little bit, but now they're pretty much normalized. Like, I think this is more along the lines of what we're going to see from this team. I mean, they're 15th in the majors in slugging percentage. They're batting .241 as a team, which is also 15th in the majors. They're still 9th in the majors in runs scored, but yeah, I don't think this is necessarily going to be a super elite offense. And they are coming off of scoring 6, 4, and 2 runs over their last 3 games, so they're swinging the bats pretty well right now, about to go up against the Marlins, who come into this game fresh off of a 9-1 win there to end their series against the San Diego Padres. They're 20 and 37 on the year, though, so that can't feel great. They're handing the ball in this game to Sixto Sanchez, Sanchez, who's still looking for his first result of the season. His last 5 outings have all been starts. We've seen the Marlins go 2-3 over those starts. His last 3 have not resulted in Marlins wins. I mean, shocker of the century. You're not going to win a ton of games as a Marlins starting pitcher, but his last time out against the Diamondbacks, he went 5 innings, gave up 5 hits, 3 earned runs. He struck out 2 and walked 2. He's actually struck out 2 and walked 2 over each of his last 3 starts, which is kind of funny to see those numbers just like looking identical down his little stat sheet here. But in general, we're not super high on Sixto Sanchez. He hasn't been facing the toughest opponents, and he's had a good but not elite time. I mean, the Marlins come into this game in terms of offense not looking amazing. They haven't looked amazing all season long. We're not going to waste a ton of time here talking about the Marlins. I mean, they're 29th in the majors in on-base percentage, 28th in runs scored, and 29th in slugging percentage. The Marlins bullpen in general, though, guys, hasn't looked terrible at all. They're actually 4th in the majors in terms of bullpen ERA, so we'll give them some credit there for having a solid bullpen, but I think the odds makers are giving them an awful lot of credit in this game. We see the Marlins at only plus 114. The Rangers are minus 120. The Marlins are only 10-19 at home this season, which isn't amazing. The Rangers are only 13-16 on the road, so that's also not great. In general, guys, I'm not in love with this game. I do like the way that Urena is throwing the ball right now, and the Rangers offense is maybe coming alive a little bit, so go ahead and give me the Rangers minus 120 on the road in this game. But yeah, once again, guys, this is not ending up in the pinned comment. Moving right along here, guys, we're looking at the Washington Nationals going on the road to take on the Cleveland Guardians. Some weirdness there in the Washington Nationals game last night with the whole like switching up of the starting pitchers. We ended up taking the under in that game out of the lineup, out of our like pinned comment, and going with the Nationals plus 165, which they did come through for us. The under also came through, so anybody that got stuck with money on that game, I'm glad that worked out for you. We'll put that one on the board as a kind of correct pick, and we'll just go ahead and move on here. But man, I wish they would quit switching up starters. But regardless, looking at the Nationals for this game, they've now won 2 in a row. They won 3 out of 4 against the Atlanta Braves, so that probably feels amazing. They're 26-29 in the season, handing the ball in this game to Patrick Corbin. He's only 1-5 on the year, guys, with a 6.12 ERA, so handing him the start probably doesn't feel great for them. I mean, watch out for pitching changes. You never know what's going to happen these days, but right now it's looking like that's who they're going to be handing the ball to, and that's somebody we have very little faith in. The Nationals offense in general has looked pretty good. I mean, they look decent over the course of this series. 3, 7, 0, and 8 runs against the Atlanta Braves. Not terrible. This obviously has been clearly a bottom third of the majors offense over the course of this season, though, so not super high on them right now. I mean, they're 24th in runs scored. They're 23rd in batting average. Looking at the Washington Nationals bullpen, they're exactly MLB average with a 3.88 bullpen, 3.88 bullpen ERA, so not terrible, not elite, right there in the middle. They're going to need to do pretty well here against the Cleveland Guardians, who've been playing decent. They have lost 2 out of their last 3. Like, they managed to lose that season against that series against the Colorado Rockies, but at 37-19 on the year, this is a good team. They're handing the ball in this game to Tanner Bybee, who's 3-1 on the year with a 3.99 ERA. Coming off a kind of weird start there against the Angels, he gave up 6 hits over 6 innings, allowed 3 earned runs, but he struck out 6 and walked 1. A step down from dominating the Twins his last time out. We've also seen Cleveland win his last 4 starts in a row, so that's something to take into consideration, even though his start back on the 8th against the Tigers was not a very good one. They managed to win that game 5-4 in extra innings, so we're going to give Bybee a little bit of credit here as a plus-level starting pitcher, and in general, the Guardians have a pretty decent bullpen. I mean, 11th in the majors with a 3.51 ERA coming out of the bullpen. Isn't terrible, isn't really going to put them over the top for me, though. The Guardians' offense can put them over the top, but they haven't been doing that lately. I mean, they scored 4, 13, and 6 runs over the course of their series against the Colorado Rockies, but they were giving up so many runs there at Coors Field that wasn't able to carry them to a series win. This team is still 3rd in the majors in runs scored, guys, 9th in the majors, still top 10 in the majors there in on-base percentage, getting on base at a 316 clip. This is an above-average offensive team for sure. They've had some injuries and stuff like that. I do think we'll see them get back on track eventually and put up some more consistent numbers like they did during that long winning streak there, but in general, guys, this team isn't swinging the hottest or the deadest bats right now. And looking at the numbers for this game, we see the Nationals at plus 185, the Guardians at minus 200, which is pretty expensive if you ask me. We got an over-under of 8 in this game. Cleveland is 18-6 at home, which is a major league best at home mark. I'm sure that is part of the reason they're big favorites here. I mean, also, you've got Corbin on the mound. Also, you've got Bybee on the mound for the Guardians, so that has to feel pretty good. Washington is 15-16 on the road, and they're playing pretty well coming into this game. So, guys, in general, I kind of like the Nationals plus 185 as like a very small flyer. I'm not going to be betting this game. It's not going in the pinned comment or anything like that, but they've been playing relatively well, and I think the Guardians don't really deserve to be a 2-1 favorite in this game. Moving right along here, guys, we're looking at the Oakland A's going on the road to take on the Atlanta Braves. Oakland comes into this game losers of 2 in a row. They lost 2 out of 3 there to the Tampa Bay Rays. They're only 23-35 on the season, so that's probably a pretty tough feeling. They're hitting the ball in this game to JP Sears, who is off to a good start. I mean, he's 4-3 in the season with a 3.88 ERA, and you can't really ask for a ton more than that if you are the Oakland A's. I mean, pretty hard to rack up a good record for such a poor team. His last time out, he looked elite against the Houston Astros. He went 6 innings, gave up only a single run, which wasn't even earned. He walked 1 and struck out 1. Looked very, very good in that outing. He's not a guy you can really count on to go deep into games necessarily, and he's had 2 good starts against the Astros during his last 5 starts. I mean, 2 of his last 3 starts were against the Astros. Both of them were very, very good, so maybe he just kind of has the Astros number because he has gotten knocked around by the Rangers and the Royals, so this isn't a guy we're looking at as a huge plus starter, and also not looking at the A's offense as a huge plus offense. I mean, they're 27th in the majors in runs scored, 28th in on-base percentage, so not super high on the Oakland A's here. I mean, shocker of the century. They also have a very bad bullpen. The A's bullpen is allowing a ERA of 4.29, or posting an ERA, of 4.29. Not great. That's 26th in the majors. Not super high on that number, and they're going to need to figure something out here against the Atlanta Braves, who are in need of a bounce back after losing 3 out of 4. Yeah, having Acuna out is not looking great for them. Not looking great for them at all. They're 31-23 on the season. Handing the ball in this game to Reynaldo Lopez has to feel pretty great. I mean, he's 2-2 in the season with a 1.75 ERA. Kind of in need of a bounce back outing. I mean, he didn't look great against the Pirates his last time out. We also saw the Braves lose that game 4-1, so that's kind of a tough look. You don't want to be losing games to teams like the Pirates, even when you're playing on the road. But we can definitely look at Lopez here as a plus level starter. And the Braves bats, while they haven't looked good recently, obviously missing Acuna a lot, need to get back on track. They're all the way down to league average in runs scored. I mean, they're still getting on base at a 317 clip. They're still batting over 250 as a team, but just not finding a way to put up a ton of runs lately, and that leaves me with a lot of question marks for the squad. I mean, they have not had the best time lately. They really got to figure some things out. Like, it's looking like kind of dark days for the Atlanta Braves right now. I mean, they do have a top 10 bullpen in the major league, so that's something to lean on. But in general in this game, guys, we see the A's at plus 184, the Braves at minus 120. We've got an over-under of 8.5 in this game. I'm not very interested in betting the side in this one, to be honest, guys. I mean, there's just too much weirdness going on with the A's right now. I do think the over-under is an extremely reasonable spot, though. We've got an over-under of 8.5 in this game. The Oakland A's are a very weak hitting team. We have seen Sears have some success lately. He's not allowing a ton of runs or a ton of numbers. And we see the A's are they're an under team. They're 28-27 to the under, but Atlanta is 30-20 to the under this season. So give me the under in this game. I think I like this spot a good amount. It has a very solid chance to end up in the pinned comment. Rounding into the home stretch here, guys, we got the Chicago White Sox going on the road to take on the Milwaukee Brewers. The White Sox come into this game losers of their last 8 in a row. They're down to 15-42 in the season, handing the ball in this game to Eric Feedy, who's 4-1 on the year with a 2.80 ERA. I mean, I think you borderline deserve some sort of award if you're able to do anything positive on a team as bad as the White Sox. His last time out, he went 6 1/3 innings, gave up 3 hits and no runs to the Baltimore Orioles. He struck out 6 and walked 3 and watched his team lose that game at 5-3. So not a whole lot he could do differently there. He did have a bad start against the Toronto Blue Jays back on the 20th, but other than that, over his last 5 starts, he's looked decent. I mean, he did have a bad start against the Cardinals. So the guy has had his mistakes, his bad starts this season in general, but man, it's got to be pretty tough to run out there and try and pitch for the White Sox when you know you're pitching for the worst offense in baseball by a significant margin. I mean, not going to waste a ton of time here talking about the Chicago White Sox offense, guys. They are abysmal, just terrible, bottom of the league type stuff. And also, in general, the White Sox bullpen is one of the worst bullpens in the major leagues, sporting a 4.41 ERA coming out of the bullpen. So not a good team, not a good offense. They are putting a pretty decent starting pitcher out there on the mound, but that might not matter going up against the Milwaukee Brewers, who just won 3 out of 4 against the Cubs to kind of assert some dominance there in the NL Central. They're 33-23 on the season, handing the ball in this game to Tobias Myers. He's only 1-2 on the year with a 4.43 ERA, but he's coming off of a decent, we'll say, start there against the Boston Red Sox. I mean, he did give up 6 hits over 4 1/3, but only a single earned run. So we'll give him a little bit of credit, but not a ton. Like, this is not somebody we're looking at as a plus level starter. He's definitely had his issues. He's been in and out of the bullpen. Like, gonna have to wait and see what we get from Tobias Myers here down the stretch. But we love what we see from the Milwaukee Brewers offense. They've scored 6, 10, 3, and 5 runs over their last 4 games. This is a top 5 offense in the majors, guys. Seems very clear to me that they are going to continue to find a way to produce some runs here, even going up against a White Sox team that's not bad, or not putting a bad pitcher out there on the mound. other than that, not a ton to look at for this game. I mean, Milwaukee, in terms of their bullpen, have been pretty freaking decent. I mean, they're sporting a 3.25 ERA coming out of the bullpen. That's sixth in the majors. Nothing wrong with that. Looking at the numbers for this game, guys, we see the Brewers at -160, the White Sox at +146. We got an over/under of 8 or 7.5 in this game. We're leaning towards the Brewers -160 in this one. This is quite a bit the better team, obviously. I mean, they're 15-10 at home. The White Sox are only 5-21 on the road. You could also lean towards the over 7.5 a little bit. I mean, the Brewers are the best over team in the majors, going 32-22-2 to the over. So definitely take a look at that. But I think the Brewers -160 is probably the side to be on in this game. I'm a little bit scared off by Feedy to take them -1.5, so just go ahead and give me the Brewers at this fairly reasonable number. Next up, guys, we're looking at the Minnesota Twins going on the road to take on the Houston Astros. We see the Twins come into this game fresh off of winning 3 of 4. That was at home against the Kansas City Royals. They're up to 31-25 on the season, so I'm sure they're happy about that. Handing the ball in this game to Pablo Lopez, who's 4-5 on the year with a 5.25 ERA, so not looking the best, and he's coming off of 2 consecutive, maybe 3 consecutive, honestly, starts that were not that great. I mean, back on the 15th of this month, he gave up 10 hits and 3 earned runs to the Yankees over 6 1/3. Only allowing 3 runs on 10 hits is pretty impressive, but giving up that many hits, not a great look. Then he got pounded by the Washington Nationals. Then he got pounded his last time out back on the 26th by the Texas Rangers. So not having a great time. The Twins' offense in general, though, is looking pretty decent. I mean, they scored 7, 1, 4, and 6 runs against the Kansas City Royals. Not a terrible pitching team by any stretch, so I think they'll definitely take that. In general, they've looked pretty decent. I mean, we definitely still have some questions about the Minnesota Twins. Don't get me wrong. I mean, their bullpen is 22nd in the majors with an ERA of 4.14, so that's not great. Gonna need the bullpen to come up big probably in this one, going against the Houston Astros, who just salvaged a win there in their 4-game series against the Seattle Mariners, winning 4-0 there in Game 4. They're only 25-32 on the year, so not great. Handing the ball in this game to Ronald Blanco, who has been great, guys. The dude is 5-0 with a 1.99 ERA. All of his last 5 starts have looked very good. 2 of those were against the Oakland A's, but he's got a good start in there against the Yankees, and I think we can feel pretty good, and the Astros probably feel pretty good with Blanco out there on the mound. And the Astros offense in general did not look good against Seattle Mariners, but nobody's offense looks good against Seattle Mariners, so we'll definitely cut them some slack there. I mean, Seattle is one of the best pitching teams in the majors, so they definitely get a little bit of slack there, but in general, this team should be putting up more runs than they do. I mean, they're 1st in the majors in batting average, 5th in the majors in on-base percentage. How are you 11th in the majors in runs scored? Like, that's kind of tough. And in general, the Astros pitching staff, like, their bullpen has looked good. They're 8th in the majors with a 3.33 ERA out of the bullpen. So in general, this team should be looking pretty good. And I'm actually shocked to see the numbers for this game, guys. We see the Astros at only -110 at home, where they're actually pretty decent. The Twins are -106 on the road, where they are 15-12 in the season. But guys, I'm leaning towards the Astros -110 in this one. I've got a decent amount of faith in Ronald Blanco. I do have some question marks just about betting on Houston in general, because they're not the greatest team, and the Twins are playing relatively well right now, but I think we see Houston come back from a rough series there against Seattle and get the job done in Game 1 of this series. Next up, guys, we're looking at the San Diego Padres going on the road here to take on the Kansas City Royals. The Padres come into this game winners of 2 out of 3 against Miami Marlins. They lost the last game of that series 9-1 though, so that's got to be pretty concerning. Seeing Darvish look really bad at times in that start has to be a big concern, because that's 2 in a row, not great starts for him, so question marks there for sure. The Padres are handing the ball to Dylan Cease in this game. He's 5-4 in the year with a 3.29 ERA, but his last couple, maybe 3 starts haven't looked great. I mean, he got knocked around by the Yankees his last time out, so cut him some slack for that. The Yankees are a great hitting team, but getting knocked around by the Braves and by the Colorado Rockies, not exactly a great look. The Padres offense in general has not been as good as it looks like it should be on paper this season. I mean, they only scored 1 run in their last game against the Marlins. In their entire series against the Miami Marlins, guys, they scored 1, 4, and 2 runs, respectively. Like, what the heck? Like, that is just not enough. That's not going to get the job done. This team is supposed to be better at the plate than that. And yeah, in general, just not very high there on the San Diego Padres. They're slightly below league average in terms of bullpen, so not a team that I'm super excited about in general. And they're taking on the Kansas City Royals, who come into this game 35-23 in the season after only winning 1 out of 4 against the Twins. This team has been much better pitching at home than on the road. We saw Singer as a super late scratch in that game, so that was super annoying. Messed up that whole pick for us. We ended up getting that. We're definitely marking that one down as a loss, but man, there's no way we would have taken the under in that Kansas City Royals game against the Twins there if we would have known about that pitching change in time. So very annoying stuff there, but oh well, what are you going to do? Coming into this game, we see the Royals are handing the ball to Michael Wacha, who's 4-5 on the season with a 4.31 ERA, but he's coming off of back-to-back, or actually like 3, maybe 4 in a row, very good starts. I mean, it was against the Rays, the Tigers, the Mariners, and the Angels, so not elite hitting opposition there, so taking on the Padres is definitely a step up, but in general, it's been good to see him come back and look pretty good out there lately. Definitely can look at him as, possible to have a big game here. The Royals getting back to playing at home is a big deal too. I mean, their offense is much better at home, and just in general, this team has been great at home. They are 4th in the majors in runs scored. They've been very hot at the plate leading up to that series against Minnesota, which definitely cooled them off a little bit. The Royals are plus 114 in this game. The Padres are minus 130. We see the Royals are 21-8 at home. The Padres are 16-10 on the road, which is a pretty good road mark. We see the over-under in this game at 8.5, with the Royals being a pretty big under team, but San Diego being a slightly over team. Too many unknowns in this game for me, guys. If you force me to bet it, I guess go ahead and will give me the Royals plus 114. We'll gamble on Wacha having a good start and the Royals being good at home coming through, but this is going to be no action for me in general, guys. I'm not going to be betting this game, and it's not going to be ending up in the pinned comment. Next on the docket, guys, we've got the Los Angeles Angels going on the road to take on the Seattle Mariners. These two teams are currently, the Angels are actually playing right now against the Yankees. They're in Los Angeles, and they're going to be traveling to Seattle. But the Angels right now, top of the 7th, are down 2-1 to the Yankees. We've got the Yankees today, so we're hoping they can come through. But in general, the Angels have not been looking great. I mean, they've tried their best here against the Yankees, but before that, they got swept by the Cleveland Guardians, and they're only 21-34 on the year. They're handing the ball in this game to Jose Soriano, who's 2-5 on the season with a 3.61 ERA, coming off a mediocre start there against the Guardians. It was 6 innings, 4 earned runs, 4 hits. He struck out 8, so we'll give him some credit there. And it was a very close game, but they weren't able to get the job done. The Angels are 3-2 over his last 5 starts, so that's something. Yeah, in general, he's looked pretty decent out there. Got to give him some credit. His record doesn't really reflect that, but he's tried to do all he can on a not very good team, and the Angels offense just isn't looking that hot right now, and in general, I mean, not a lot of positive things to say here about the Los Angeles Angels. I mean, they've got a pretty bad bullpen. Their offense is only 17th in the majors in runs scored and 22nd in on-base percentage. They're having a very hard time in the series scoring runs against the Yankees, so not a lot of positives here for the Angels, and some things that do look pretty good for their opponents, the Seattle Mariners, who are 31-27 on the season. They just won 3 out of 4 against the Houston Astros, a team they can expect to be battling for the AL West crown. And yeah, they're handing the ball in this game to Brian Wu, who's 2-0 on the season with a 1.66 ERA. He finally had a start that made him look like a human being against the Nationals his last time out back on the 26th. He went 6 innings, gave up 3 earned runs on 5 hits. He gave up his first home run of the season in that outing, but it was a game we saw his team win 9-5, and we've also seen Seattle go 4-0 in his start so far this season, including wins against the Royals and against the Yankees. So that all has to feel very, very encouraging for them. Looking at the Seattle offense in general, it's looked quite a bit better lately, like over maybe their last 4 or 5 games. I mean, they did get shut out their last time out. Like, this is not a great offensive team whatsoever, but they've got a decent bullpen, a slightly above average bullpen, and way above average starting pitching. So a lot of positives to find here for the Seattle Mariners here going up against the Angels, the worst team in the AL West. So looking at the numbers for this game, we see the Angels at plus 140, the Mariners at minus 166, got an over-under of 7.5 in this game. We do see Seattle is 34-21-3 to the under. That's an MLB best number to the under, but in this game, I'm more interested in the side. We like the Seattle Mariners minus 166 at home a good amount. It's a little bit expensive, but with Wu out there on the mound, I think Seattle wins this game the vast majority of the time. So I think this number should be closer to minus 200 than minus 166. So that leaves us some room for some value, and this has some chance at ending up in the pinned comment. Next on the docket, guys, we have the Colorado Rockies going on the road to take on the Los Angeles Dodgers. The Rockies come into this game 20-35 on the season, fresh off of winning 2 of 3 against the Cleveland Guardians, so that has to feel pretty good. They're handing the ball to Dakota Hudson in this game. He has not had the best time, guys. He's 1-7 on the season with a 5.54 ERA, coming off of a actually surprisingly good start there against the Phillies, and his last couple starts have been pretty good despite going up against the Phillies, the Giants, and the San Diego Padres. So we'll give the guy a little bit of credit. He hasn't necessarily been dominant out there, but when you're pitching for the Colorado Rockies, it's got to be a little bit tough. I mean, yeah, not a great offensive team, and the Colorado Rockies bullpen also not exactly something you want to write home about, guys. They are dead last with an ERA of 4.48, so not amazing. This offense in general, not great either. I mean, they're 9th in the majors in batting average, but not a team you can count on to put up a ton of runs, even when they're playing at Coors Field. They're taking on a Dodgers team who seems to have figured things out. Playing the Mets will help you figure some stuff out, I'll tell you that. I mean, they went 3-0 in that series. scored 10, 3, and 5 runs respectively. They're 36 and 22 on the year, handing the ball in this game to Walker Buehler, who's 1 and 2 on the season with a 4.26 ERA as he continues to round into form here. He's only faced pretty mediocre offenses this season. He had one great start against the Reds and then one mediocre start against the Reds. That was his last time out, where he went 5 2/3, gave 6 hits, 3 earned runs, and 2 home runs. So yeah, not super high on Walker Buehler. I mean, the dude is not a disaster out there, and we definitely feel like we have to give him some time, but we are pretty high on the Dodgers bullpen, which is second in the majors with an ERA of 3.01, and we're obviously always going to be high on the Dodgers offense, one of the best offenses in the majors. We see Mookie Betts batting 332, Ohtani's still batting over 330 and has 14 home runs. This is an amazing offensive team. They're top 2 or 3 in every major category, so feeling pretty good about the Dodgers, but when you look at the numbers for this game, that kind of evaporates for me a little bit. I mean, the Dodgers are minus almost 300. The Rockies are plus 265. We got an over-under in this game of 8.5. The Rockies are only 7 and 21 on the road this season, so that's definitely something to take into consideration, but the price just seems very, very high for me in this one. I mean, if you take the Dodgers minus 1.5, you can get them down to minus 130. So if you're going to bet the Dodgers, I recommend you take them minus 1.5, but yeah, I'm not going to be jumping on this game, guys. I just don't have enough faith in the Dodgers, or I really don't have enough faith in Buehler in this game. So we'll see what happens. This is a spot you could definitely take the Dodgers, but I'm going to dodge them this time. Last but not least, guys, we're looking at the New York Yankees going on the road to take on the San Francisco Giants. They're about to have to go from Los Angeles to San Francisco. No big deal. No major travel concerns for me in that one. They're handing the ball in this game to Marcus Stroman, who's 4 and 2 on the year with a 2.76 ERA, coming off of a dominant performance against the San Diego Padres. He went 6 innings, gave it 3 hits, struck out 5, and walked 1 without allowing a run in that game. So he looked very, very, very good out there, and the Yankees offense continues to absolutely kill. I mean, hopefully they're in for a big night in this one. This team also has the best bullpen in the majors with a ERA of only 2.95, so that bullpen is looking very, very good. No complaints from me here about the Yankees, and they're taking on a San Francisco Giants team that just won 2 out of 3 against the Phillies and have been looking much, much better here over their last, 15 or 20 games or something like that. They're 29 and 28 on the year, handing the ball to Jordan Hicks, who has been lights out. I mean, the dude is 4 and 1 on the season with a 2.33 ERA. He's coming off a great start against the Mets, good start there against the Rockies, a very solid start against the Dodgers in a game that we saw his team actually lose in extra innings despite his best efforts. He hasn't been going deep into games. I mean, he's pitched exactly 5 innings in each of his last 4 starts. With the Giants bullpen obviously being a major consideration, they are the 3rd best bullpen in the majors. So the Giants offense, we can feel pretty decent about them, although they haven't been scoring a ton of runs. This team is up to 11th in the majors in runs scored and 10th in the majors in batting average, but they're going up against a very solid starting pitcher and a very solid bullpen. So all this is kind of leading us to see offense at a premium in this game. I mean, the Yankees are 30, 23, and 2 to the under. We do see the Giants are a slight over team, but are they going to be an over type of offense against the Yankees? I kind of tend to doubt it. In general, guys, this is a game where I kind of like the under, but I kind of don't really like anything else. So I guess give me a taste of under 7.5, but this game not going in the pinned comment. That's all the games we have for today, guys. Hit that like button for good luck on all of your bets and subscribe to the channel if you're new. Let me know in the comments any questions you have on today's slate. Thanks for watching. You can click the link in the description to check out stumpthespread.com, and we'll see you guys tomorrow for more sports betting action.